Howdy, welcome back to Wobble Enjoy Sports. If you're new around here, hope I can get you to consider like the content and subscribe to the channel. But if you're a regular around these here parts, thank you very much for the continuous support. Last week in the NRLW, 4 out of 6. Now we turn our attention to the first ever NRLW Magic Round emanating from McDonald Jones Stadium. Let's get stuck into round number 5 of the 2025 NRLW season. Game number 1 of the NRLW Magic Round 2025 is the Gold Coast Titans versus the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs for the first time ever in NRLW. It kicks off at 12:15 and the Gold Coast Titans, they come into the game as favourites, $1.71. Bulldogs, they are $2.15. The Titans, they are on a 2-game winning streak, whereas the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs are on a 2-game losing streak. Bulldogs meeting the champions last weekend and copping their biggest loss so far in NRLW, whereas the Gold Coast Titans were pretty solid. They were pretty solid last weekend against the Warriors. Going into the team list now, their back line 1 through to 7 is unchanged. The forward pack, as a matter of fact, the entire team is unchanged. Yes, they might swap and change. Georgia Hale might start at hooker again, and then maybe Lily Rose Kolk will come off the bench and absolutely seek and destroy like she did last weekend, but the 1 to 17 is unchanged. For the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs, there are changes here. So Elizabeth McGregor and Varney Bilecki are the wingers, and the centres are Tagawai and Courtney. The forward pack, this is where the changes come in. So Tiakaranga Katoa and Millard, they are the starting front rowers. The back row is Muru, Smythe and Alexis Tuanei, and the interchange is Wilson, Monshao, Oilo, and Hopewadi. Holly Wheeler and Tegan Demick are out for the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs. I believe both are for injury concerns. That's a massive blow to their forward pack for the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs. This one is a sniff of an upset, but it just looks like the Gold Coast Titans, they've found themselves again. They've course corrected. Yeah, they have defeated the Tigers and they're on the bottom of the ladder, and the Warriors they've defeated. And they're the new team on the block, one of the 2 new teams on the block. But you can only beat what's in front of you. And especially last weekend, they looked really good. They looked really in sync. But this is probably their biggest test on their winning streak so far. This will really test them. I feel like they're the favourites. And this Bulldogs side, yeah, they leaked 42, but then they got back into that second half and won by. I think they won what was it? I think they won 22-12 in the second half against the Roosters last weekend. But without Wheeler, without Demick, it is a blow to their forward pack. And then taking on Jess Elliston, who is probably the prop of the year to date. So I'm going to go the Gold Coast Titans here, 1-12. The second game kicks off at 2:15. It's the West Tigers versus the Sydney Roosters. Easts, they are $1.10. The Tigers, they are $7. Oof. Look, the Tigers, they got a bit of an injury bug at the moment. Their injury ward is starting to fill up. However, they took it to the Cronulla Southland Sharks last weekend, really threatening to get that dub, their first dub of 2025. So there are changes for them. Rebecca Pollard is in on the sting, and the halves remain as Manera and Lutu. The forward pack, Hauka'u starts at prop alongside Togatuki, and the back row is unchanged. The interchange for them is Saville, Ranki, Luamanu, Liatawa, and Fonua. But the outs, Christian Pio, Claudia Nielsen, and Jessica Reeves as well for the West Tigers. So they are some massive exclusions. And then you look over to the other side and they're undefeated and they've been playing really, really good. But there's one player that they've been doing it without, and that one player is arguably the best player on the planet at the moment in the NRLW. Taryn Aiken is back for the Sydney Roosters, and she is going to be playing halfback. Jocelyn Kelleher shifts to the 5/8 role. Corbin Baxter, well, she's not going to get dropped, is she? So she moves back to her natural position of fullback. Therefore, Naividi and Bridie Parker are on the stings, and then Surgis and Kelly, they are the centres. The forward pack is Poole, Davis and Butler, Nasio, Strange and Koenig at the back row, and the interchange is Maya Wood, Carlisle, Amber Hall and Lopamua. Sydney Roosters 13+. And the third game of Magic Round Saturday for the NRLW is the Broncos versus the Sharks. Brisbane $1.25. The Sharks, they are $4. Oh, bloody hell, $4. That's pretty disrespectful. But the form guide of Sharkies in the NRLW is it's not great. Let's start with the Brisbane Broncos, and look, it looks relatively unchanged. I mean, Aneta Claudia Nuasala, Brianna Clark, that's the starting front row with Keely Joseph getting to the lock slot. Brill, Lenarduzzi, Bree Spreadborough and Suaso ran out the interchange for the Brisbane Broncos. For the Cronulla Sharks, Brooke Anderson, Tafua and Faulkner, they are out. So what they look like, well, the back line is unchanged. Jacinta Carter returns from a concussion, and the back row is Takapatolo, Anne-Marie Kiriaratu, and Tale Holmes at lock. The interchange is Tyler King, Weeks, Davis Walsh, and Lecky Leilua, and jersey number 17. That's a pretty light-on bench. That might change before kickoff, just quietly. That to me looks like a pretty light-on bench for the Cronulla Sharks. Brisbane Broncos were tested. They were tested last weekend in Wollongong, but there was that sin bin to Tegan Berry, and we'll get to that shortly. And the Broncos sort of ran away with it. They were on top already, but they've ran away with it definitely from that point. The Sharkies, they've done it in patches this year, but for some reason or other, it is not clicking. It's very much mirroring the form of the NRL Sharks side. They haven't found top gear yet, and they've only shown flashes of their second best at times this season. So unfortunately, Sharkies, this has been billed up as the game of Magic Round. Unfortunately, I'm going to say that the Brisbane Broncos win this one. I'm not going to say 13+. I'll show a little bit of respect there, but I'm going to go the Brisbane Broncos to win this game 1-12. Moving into the Sunday contest, and match number 1 is the first ever encounter between the North Queensland Cowboys and the New Zealand Warriors. This kicks off at 10-12 in the morning. The Cowboys, they are $1.37, whereas the New Zealand Warriors, they are $3.10. And why would you change a formula that's working? Because the Cowboys, they are unchanged for the third week in a row, possibly the fourth week. Third week in a row. For the New Zealand Warriors, this is where some of the changes come in. And it was good to really soak in what they're all about last weekend. So Patricia Maliepo is the 5'8". Emily Curtin returns after an injury last weekend. She will be the halfback. Therefore, Turua Quedley moves to the hooker slot. Fotumawala and Kitai, they start. The back row is Pukatapu, Atai, and Laishan Albert Jones. And then the interchange for the New Zealand Warriors is Paka'u, Butler, Matapo, and Falila Kia. Matakino Gray out due to concussion for the New Zealand Warriors. Some of the players that stood out to me last weekend, I thought Ikanasio for the Warriors, I thought she was tremendous. It was good to soak up Michaela Brake as well. And Patricia Maliepo, she's definitely had a lot of hype about her, a lot of good raps. She's definitely got a smooth passing game, man. And I thought Kaya Atai last weekend, her first half in particularly was outstanding. I thought she really ripped and teared and killed it. For the North Queensland Cowboys, my reaction, it was a great team effort. It just didn't quite go the way of the Cowboys in that first half. They looked good, they had their chances, but a blockbuster run from Jasmine Peters really broke that game open. Yes, it was already 6-0 after the first minute or two, but I mean, Bree Chester, she was a massive standout last weekend, I thought. Jasmine Peters last weekend, Crystal Blackwell too. She is putting her hand up. She's fighting tooth and nail to maybe be awarded one of the wingers of the season. She keeps on scoring. She keeps on dazzling, honestly. And I really thought Hayley J. Ormond-Maunsell broke out, at least in my eyes anyway. She's been a player that I just haven't been able to soak up. She's been at the Gold Coast Titans, and I think she's been elsewhere, if I'm not mistaken. But I've really soaked up Ormond-Maunsell this year, and last weekend I thought that was the game where I went, whoa, that's what you're all about. And she had some friggin' toe, didn't she, to break free and run 50 metres or so. Last weekend, the New Zealand Warriors against the Titans in Auckland. It's a different game to the men's, I get it. But their discipline with ball, without ball, was close to deplorable. I thought the Warriors last weekend were pretty bad, and therefore not taking them lightly at all. So the Cowboys, they can't and they won't take this Warriors side lightly in any way, shape or form. There are some great players in that team, but it just didn't work out for them last weekend. So beware the bounce back. And this is their second game in Newcastle in 2 weeks now for the Warriors. This is the Cowboys' first ever trip to the Hunter Valley in the NRLW. So North Queensland Cowboys, they're going to win this one 1-12. Go the Cowboys. The second game on Sunday kicks off at 1:45 in the afternoon. Newcastle Knights host the Canberra Raiders. The Knights $1.15. The Raiders, they are $5.50. The backline for the Newcastle Knights is unchanged. The forward pack, Predapon, Davison and Higgins, Kirkpatrick, Clydesdale and Romanuik, and the interchanges Morris, Kapani, Yo and Kukutai. Then going into the Canberra Raiders team lineup now, and it looks like Zahara Temera is back for them. And besides that, I don't think there's any other changes for them for the Canberra Raiders. Newcastle Knights, Brisbane Broncos are floating about. Roosters, they're definitely the team to beat at the moment, but the Newcastle Knights, they're kind of the dark horse at the moment. They were bad in round number 1, and they have just gotten better and better and better as the weeks have gone on, and they've got some serious Milo in their cup. They are really dangerous. And Miss Jessie Southwell, outstanding. Absolutely outstanding over the past fortnight or so, in particularly for the Canberra Raiders. Better defensively, credit to them. It was their best defensive performance of the year to date, but they're completing at 50% at the end of the first half, and it really wasn't that much better by the end of the second. They've got so much to work on. Canberra Raiders, unfortunately, on paper, they're still a dangerous team, but I don't know what's happened in the off-season. I really don't. I don't know if there's been a massive blow-up and somebody's off somebody else or what have you, but it's not working at the moment. So unfortunately, I think the Newcastle Knights are going to win this one 13+. And then finally, to wrap up, NRLW Magic Round for 2025 from Newcastle. It's the Parramatta Eels versus the St. George Illawarra Dragons. Eels $1.55. The Dragons are $2.45. This one is kicking off at 3:45 in the afternoon. And on the ladder, I think that this might actually be the game of the round. I know that Broncos and Sharks are a little bit higher sort of thing, but I think this will be a really competitive contest. Unfortunately, though, Tegan Berry has been served a 2-game suspension for driving in with her knees into the back of a player in the act of scoring. She was sin-binned, and therefore Tegan Berry will miss the next fortnight or so. So that is awful news if you were going to Newcastle Magic Round to see her. So therefore, Tyra Ekapati, who has just been purchased by the Dragons from the Sydney Roosters, is going to be making her club debut this weekend at fullback. But starting with the home team technically first, the Parramatta Eels, their backline is unchanged. And just quickly, Parramatta Eels, they themselves got a dose of reality. They got a massive reality check last weekend, going down 30 points to 6 to the Knights. It was a competitive first half, and then Newcastle Knights just ran away with it in the end. The forward pack here, it is unchanged, but Kennedy Cherrington, she makes her 2025 debut off of the bench in jersey number 16. Todd Hunter, Paige Travis, and Fleur Jin comes off the interchange. It's Tess McWilliams who misses out this weekend. So now going into the Dragons, it is Ekapati, Vella and Millard. Lendl and Brown are the centres, with Bobby Law still out. Zali Hopkins and McGregor are the halves pairing. The forward pack, Mulhall, Maynard Perrin and Trinity Tawaniai. Costa, Basham and Southwell, that is the back row. McGregor, Gregory, Wilson and Ingram, that is the interchange. If Tegan Berry was in this game, I would have flirted with the idea of tipping for the Dragons for a 3rd time upset this year. They've treated me well so far when I've tipped them, but without Tegan Berry, and the fact that Kennedy Cherrington is coming in, and the fact that Parramatta Eels are going to have some bounce back after copping a reality smack by the Newcastle Knights, I'm going to tip the Parramatta Eels to win this one, 1-12. But I think this might be the closest, most competitive game of Magic Round. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. And I know Brisbane Broncos and Cronulla Sharks, that matchup is the marquee game of the weekend. But I think this one might be the closest and most competitive contest of NRLW Magic Round 2025. Parramatta Eels 1-12. Hey guys, thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed that video. If you're going to Magic Round, have an absolute blast. Really looking forward to it. Hopefully the weather stays crystal clear. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next episode. Thank you. Take care. Adios.